I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time. I took a primate course just to kind of take a break from all the chemistry and organic chemistry, and found Jane Goodall lecturing in this huge auditorium showing her National Geographic slides, and I just became mesmerized with the whole close-up views of this English woman out in the forest with these chimps. I'm John Crocker, and I am a family physician. I've just completed 35 years of work as a family doctor in Seattle. I wrote a book called Following Fifi, which describes my 8 months of work with Jane Goodall in Africa as a student, studying families of chimps along the shores of Lake Tanganyika. I'd never been camping before. And suddenly I found myself in a hut in the middle of this beautiful but wild Tanzanian forest. So luckily, I was assigned to 4 families of chimpanzees, each with 2 to 3 year old offspring. So mothers with their young 2 to 3 year olds. And that was perfect for me. And so that was my interest, and I got to see chimps at this developmental time. I have to admit, I was intimidated by Jane at the beginning because of her stature. But at Gombe, she was so easy to be around and just talk to. And one day she came up into the upper camp, the chimp camp, and spent a couple hours talking about the mother-infant study with me. And I felt she had reserved that time for me. And I felt very good about connecting really strongly with her during that time. And ever since then, I felt like I was just, part of her family almost. And I was really lucky to have been able to study Fifi. Fifi is the daughter of Flo, who Jane wrote a lot about. And Fifi was a very engaging chimp. She just had this personality that researchers couldn't resist watching and studying. In terms of her mothering, she was a very confident mother, as was her mother, Flo. Chimp mothers are very protective. So for me, having Fifi to follow from sunrise to sunset and watch how she built nests and protected Freud, her 2.5-year-old, and yet played with him and allowed him to interact with other chimps was really the core of my study. And the bond that forms during those first few years of the mother and offspring, or could be a nanny and the offspring, or a father, those bonds in humans are really important. So one night as I was writing the book, my son came up to me and said, "Dad, why don't you go back to Africa to finish the book?" I was 58 when I went back, and Thomas was 20 and a college student. So this was a time that I could kind of reconnect with my son. And so the reunion in Africa with Jane, with the chimps, also became kind of a reunion with my son. The fact that I had this amazing experience working in the forest with Jane Goodall and studying this incredible group of chimpanzees, watching them display their raw behavior right before my eyes, really did affect how I treated patients and raised my children. And I found that the behaviors that I saw every day as a family practitioner, such as depression, anxiety, ADD, I could see from an evolutionary point of view, which made it much more practical for me to come up with treatment plans and to feel confident in giving advice to people based on knowing that each individual had genetics that programmed them in a certain way that I could see in the chimp community. And I could transfer that knowledge to the study of another primate, which would be the human primates. So the opportunity that I had, I think, allowed me to really look at behavior differently. It was clear that this allowed me to have more confidence and to feel more assured and really enthused about my work in those areas as time went on. And I attribute it to that experience that I was lucky enough to have working with the chimps and with Jane Goodall.